All set?
Hello, everyone.
Hi,
My name is Jake Poznansky,
and I'm Sam Kaufman.
and we are the co-founders of Random Salad Games, one of the first development studios on the Windows platform. We've been around since Windows Phone 7 came out, yes, that one, and we've been making games ever since. We publish a lot on UWP right now, and we want to share all of the great things that we've learned about how you can make a ton of money on the Windows Store.
Yes.
So, a couple of things we want to note before we get too far into it. We're going to be talking a lot about ad-based monetization. If you have an app on the App Store and you're using ads to monetize it, please come talk to us after the talk. We'd love to help you get your ad campaigns set up, optimize your ad placements. We have a lot of built-up expertise over several years of experience. You can be successful on the store too. So come talk to either me or Sam if you see us during the conference anytime later. You can visit our site, randomsaladgames.com. We have over 50 titles on the Windows Store across all of our sort of different brands. They're all available there. And afterwards, of course, you can see all of the information and slides on Channel 9. A couple things to note. There are two great sessions you can go to. One is tomorrow with Jamie Rodriguez, and the other one on Friday with Bernardo Zamora. They both talk about the Windows Store and are much deeper dive into these monetization and promotion options. Highly recommend those if you have a chance on Thursday and Friday. So I'll pass it off to Sam, and he'll give us a little deeper introduction.
All right, thanks, Jake. So, who are we and why should you be sitting here listening to us speak? Well, we are Random Salad Games. We're a game studio that Jake and I founded all the way back when we were just students in college. So a lot of the stuff we're talking about today, the great thing is that we learned it just through experience. It's not like we went to some sort of fancy app-making school. So everything that we tell you today, you're going to be able to pick up and do yourself. So a little bit more about us and some of the sort of successful things that we've had. We were the first app developer to make over $1 million on the Windows Store. So again, we have a lot of really great experience we can share to help you guys be the next Windows Store millionaires. We did that by publishing over 50 titles, all the way back from when Windows 8 started. So how can you become the next Windows Store millionaire? Well, there are two really important elements to being a successful app developer on the Windows Store. The first is monetizing your app. Now, Jake had mentioned before that we monetize specifically with ads, so we're going to be diving into that for this presentation. But again, if you come up to us afterwards and you have a plan or an app that uses a different form of monetization, we have a lot of experience with that as well. We can talk more about that. So that's the first side. And the second side of things that's really important is acquiring users for your app. So the great thing is that the Microsoft Cloud monetization platform has solutions to help you both monetize your app and get people into it and acquire users. So Jake's going to start off by talking about monetization.
Yes, monetization. Well, you've put in a lot of work into publishing your app on the store, and you want to get some money or some return on investment when you're finally done with this thing. That's the key behind monetization. That's how you actually drive revenue from having your app on the App Store. So like Sam said, we focus primarily on ad-driven monetization. So there are a couple other types, like premium titles, in-app purchases. You can dive into those in a couple different sessions. This one is going to be focused on ad-based monetization. I think in a lot of ways it's one of the simplest ways because ads are something you can integrate into almost every application. What the key point is, you don't want to do that at the last second though. You want to be planning those advertisements from the very beginning of the development process. Like one day before you submit your app, that's not the right time to maybe be sticking in banners in every which place. You want to be thinking about that from the very beginning. So I'm going to go through these three major ad formats that are available with the Microsoft system. Those are display banner ads, incentivized ads, and interstitial ads. And let's get started with display ads. I'm sure you've seen these everywhere on the internet. They're on the mobile web, desktop web. Every app seems to have these at some point. It's just a standard banner ad, just a rectangle in a certain part of your app main screen that's going to be showing an advertisement. You can integrate this using the Microsoft Cloud monetization system. There's an SDK available from Microsoft through Dev Center. You can find that very easily. Now, what we want to do is tell you how you actually do this correctly. So if you take a look at this example, this is one of our games. We've highlighted where the banner ad appears. And as you can see, it's off to the side of the screen. It's not on top of any important UI elements that the user wants to get to right underneath or right next to it. You don't want to have accidental clicks on these ads. You want to have clicks that are intentional and provide a value to your users. So if you look here, in our Hearts Deluxe game, we've moved over all of the elements, and a couple things that are actually would have been in the center of the screen otherwise are subtly shifted, so it still looks good. You've got the banner ad on the side there. One thing that you should note is there are a lot of different screen sizes and devices out there. So if you've been testing on one computer during your main development process, give it a try in either the Windows simulator in a couple different resolutions, or put it on a tablet device. Try it in portrait mode instead of landscape. You want to make sure that these ads are showing no matter what your screen size is, no matter what your device orientation is. So that is going to be very important as well. Now, banner ads are probably some of the most basic options, but you can get a bit more advanced with incentivized ads. And what an incentivized ad is any advertisement where you trade something that the user wants in exchange for them viewing an advertisement. Typically, these will be like a 15 to 30 second long video ad, but they can also be an interstitial display ad as well. So the format of those is kind of depending on what works for you. The key thing is that you're trading something that the user wants in exchange for seeing that ad. In this case, this is a perfect integration we've done here with the shop screen for a game. There's a couple different options. The user can buy some extra coins by spending real-life money, or they can watch a video and get 75 coins for free. Now, a lot of people are hesitant to pull out their credit card, especially if they've just gotten your app. They don't know if it's going to do exactly what they want. They can take this free option, give it a test drive. It works really, really well. The other thing we can mention are interstitial ads. Now, this would be the same format as an incentivized one, meaning it would be a video that pops up, maybe plays for 15 to 30 seconds, or like a larger full screen display banner ad. But what happens here is that these would occur during a natural intermission or break in the game. So this is not something that the user wanted necessarily to click on. It's just something that happens while you're processing some data, you're loading the next level, maybe you're waiting for players to connect to your game, if it's a multiplayer one, for example. What's important to note is that these interstitial ads, anytime you show a banner or a video that takes up the whole screen, the amount of money that you earn is much higher than those banner ads we talked about earlier. Now, the caveat with that is that you can't just show these every 30 seconds like you can with a banner ad. You need to space them out, you need to make them part of a natural flow or integration, and that's the way you need to do it to make them work well with your user experience. Now, a little bit earlier, I mentioned that ads are something you want to start planning from the very beginning of your app development. Still highly recommended. However, if you have an app on the store already and it's maybe not monetizing just as well as you would like, don't worry, there is still a lot of things you can do. So we had this game out on the App Store called Jewel Star, and it was a standard sort of match 3 game like Candy Crush Saga or that genre in general. And it monetized okay. We just had banner ads. And we were seeing a decent amount of revenue per user, but it wasn't really fantastic. Not millionaire generating levels for sure. What we found out is that if we added this incentivized ad into the system, we were able to double the revenue for our game. So let me tell you how we did that. When you're at the end of a level, you might be almost out of moves or almost out of lives. And at that moment, you can pop up a screen, maybe like this one, that says, click yes to watch a short video advertisement and receive 5 extra moves. That's going to save someone from having a game over screen appear and end their play session. And users actually emailed us and told us that they loved seeing this ad. And how often do you actually have users tell you that they enjoy seeing an advertisement in your game? This feature, not only did we earn money for the users seeing the ads when they clicked on this dialogue, but they were able to play and get deeper into the game, further into the level progression, and actually experience more of the game and drive even more revenue. And altogether, all of those factors doubled the revenue for our game. That's a true data point. And all it was adding one simple screen like this with an incentivized video advertisement. So now the next part, let's say you've monetized your app pretty well. The next key point is to how to get users into your app. Sam's going to tell you all about that.
Thank you, Jake. Yes, so you have done a really good job of monetizing your app. You listened to all the great advice that Jake just gave you, and now you have an app that's going to make you a ton of money if you can just get users into it. And there's a really common misconception that people work really hard on their app. It's really amazing. People are just going to come into it naturally. I don't need to do any sort of promotion for it. It's great. But we've learned the hard way that that's... we learned the hard way that that's just not the case. You have to get ahead of user acquisition and promotion. So we've got a really great illustration of that. We've got two graphs here. The top graph shows you markets where we did not run any promotions for a recent game that we released. You can see the volume of installs, which is on the y-axis, is really low. It's a pretty flat graph, nothing really great happening there. This bottom graph shows you markets where we did run promotions using the Promote Your App tool, which we're going to get into in a few seconds. And you can see huge volume of downloads compared to the top graph, a huge spike. You can tell the day that we started the promotions for it. And it's really important to run these campaigns because you need to get users into your app right away. So how do you do that? Well, the Microsoft Cloud Monetization Platform has a really great tool called Promote Your App. And it's a self-service tool. You can sign on today if you have an app on Dev Center and create campaigns for your app right away. So let's dive into how you set up a campaign. So the first thing, it's not listed here, but really important element to this is that you only need a minimum budget of $10 to set up a campaign. So you don't need a huge advertising budget for your app. You can get started today with just $10 and get people into your app right away. So that's been a really amazing aspect to all this. So once you've set your budget, you want to target people into the campaign for your app. So there's two types of targeting. The first type of targeting is automatic targeting. And that's using machine learning algorithms to figure out which users should be in front of your ad campaign. It's really great. It works really well. If you're a first-time app developer on the Windows Store, or you're not exactly sure the type of people that are using your application, then auto-targeting is a really great way to go. If you're, this isn't your first time around the block, you've released an app before, or if your app has already been live on the store for a while, you can actually go into Dev Center and look at the different demographics of people that are using your application. So if you have a good feel for the type of people that are using your app, then manually targeting the campaign is a really great way to go, and that's what this screen up here is showing. So a lot of really cool things that you can target manually with these Promote Your App campaigns. Country is a really important one. A lot of our games are word games that we only implement in English, so if we're making a campaign for that, we want to do it in only English-speaking countries. So things like that are important to do when you're thinking about targeting for different countries. You can also target different devices. You have the Surface app versus universal. That's if you want to show it in other people's apps, or if you also want to show it in Bing search results. That's something that was added recently, and that's a really great feature. And then you can also target operating system, gender, age range. And you get this cool little graph up here that shows you, with all the different combinations of things that you're targeting here, what percentage of the total audience are you still going to be hitting. And you want to make sure that that's still at least 40 or 50%. If it's less than that, then you're kind of putting yourself at a disadvantage and not getting it in front of enough eyes. But once you've figured all this out and you've figured out which type of targeting is best for you, the next step is setting up this creative here, these images that will actually show in other people's apps. And this is the ads that people will see that they'll click on and be sent to the Windows Store to download your app. So there are a couple of really important things to note here when you're setting up this campaign. The first is the custom tagline. That's the Try Spades Today text that we have up here. And We've actually seen huge differences in changing just 1 or 2 words when we've done custom taglines. If we do download spades today instead of try spades today, you might get twice as many downloads. It's really crazy. You wouldn't think that a simple change in words would do that, but it has a profound effect. So that's one thing that's really important to keep in mind when you're trying out different ad campaigns. Another thing that you want to make sure that you look at are the images. So this is an icon right here that was actually brought up when we made the App Store submission for Spades. So all those images that you can select from are your screenshots, your icons, your store assets, the things that you had to include when you submitted your app to the store. You can now access those to plug into these ads, and it's really great. One of the things that we highly recommend is using a screenshot, which you get all the screenshots that you had uploaded as an option. And that shows the user kind of a glimpse into your app. It's an engaging way to show people what your app's all about. So once you've figured out your custom tagline and your image, you can mess around with this other stuff here too. Those are the 2 most important things we've found, though, are the custom tagline and the image. So those are the general sort of ways to go about creating a promote your app or PYA campaign, but how can you use that to really leverage it? We have some really great tips and tricks for you. So this top point is going to be the most important thing that you should take away from this entire presentation. When you submit a new app to the store, you want to run these campaigns that we're talking about right away. In the first 2 weeks, the installs that you get in those first 2 weeks are going to be worth more to you than any installs you get further down the road. And that's because the algorithms that the Windows Store uses for its rankings actually really highly value those first few weeks worth of installs. So the more installs you get in those first few weeks, the more you'll move up in the rankings, and then you're going to just get natural or organic installs from people seeing yourself in the rankings. And it's going to compound on itself. The more installs you get, the higher in the rankings you move, and back and forth, and that's the way that you really want to leverage this to move up in the rankings and get installs. So that's by far the most important piece of advice that we can give you. You also want to make sure you're targeting your ads to the right demographic. We had talked about auto-targeting is really great. If you have the ability to manually target, we highly recommend it, and don't ignore that as an element when you're setting up the campaign. Targeting is really important. It's going to allow the campaigns to get in front of the right people. Like I was saying before with our word games, a lot of people in non-English speaking countries are not going to, if they don't speak English, why would they play a word game in the language that they don't speak, right? So if you're really careful about that sort of stuff and you think about it ahead of time and make sure that it's targeted to the right people, you're going to see it in the results in terms of how well your campaigns perform. And then these last 2 points are sort of a strategy that Jake and I use all the time whenever we release a new game. We just had a game, Blackjack Professional, that hit the store this morning. Yep. Highly recommend that you install it, but we're going to go home tonight and do this exact plan with this game. Take like a third of your budget that you set aside for your app and create a bunch of low-budget, manually targeted campaigns where you're trying different combinations of gender, age, maybe different custom taglines, different screenshots, all those different things that we were just going over in the previous slides. You want to try different combinations of those at a low budget so that you're not eating up your entire budget for your app. Let that run for about a week, and then when you come back and check, you'll be able to see, oh, well, which combinations of those things worked better, which ones got more people to click on the ads and install the app. And then you can remake with the remaining budget you have for your advertising, the better performing campaigns with the remaining budget, and now you have the best performing campaigns you possibly can have running with the biggest budgets that you can have. And it's just the best way to try and leverage the most amount of money that you can get out of your advertising budget. So these are just some of the tips and tricks that we have for really leveraging the power of the PYA platform.
Yep.
Give it to Jake to wrap it up here.
Thanks. So yeah, we've talked about monetization, we've talked about user acquisition. Both of these things are 2 sides of the same coin. You want to be working on them to make your app the most successful it can be. If you come and talk to Sam and myself after the after this presentation, we'd love to help you set up your first ad campaigns on the store. There's one weird trick, as we'd like to call it. Dev Center Benefits offers a free coupon. So you can get a $250 ad credit if you work with the Dev Center Benefits program. And you can just apply that to start acquiring users. And it's completely free. You do have to meet some requirements to actually publish your app and so on.
And we'll tell you about all that when you come to see us.
Come talk to us. If you see us during the conference, we'd love to talk to you about apps. I sort of consider the Windows Store as like the best kept secret of all the app stores.
Yeah.
You can make millions of downloads and millions of dollars from this thing. We promise. And
he's not lying.
Yes. So publish on the Windows Store. You can be super successful, and we'd love to see you do it too.
And thank you so much for coming. We really do appreciate it. If you can fill out an evaluation form, we would really, really appreciate it. There's also going to be an event tonight at 5 p.m. in room 310, and we'd all like you to come by and check it out.
Yep, and check out the booth around Dev Center Benefits and monetization.
Yeah, right back behind you, right over there. We're going to be over here afterwards if you want to come and talk to us. Those people are really also great to talk about a lot of the stuff. But please come find us. We really would appreciate it, and thank you so much for coming out and hearing us speak.
Thanks.
Thank you.